Good morning, it's Shanna. We are going to take a look at shelf 3 in my deck collection, and I posted Wednesday and Saturday of last week, this week, I don't know, one of the weeks, past Wednesday, past Saturday, shelves 1 and 2, and if you watched those, you know that those decks were the decks that I guess I could categorize as my least used decks, which I guess is kind of why they were put together in those, on those shelves, you know, in particular, because I feel like not only were they aesthetically pleasing on my bookshelf, but they're on there in a way that they're not really going to be bothered, right? So today's decks are going to be the decks that I use more. So these are the ones that I try not to stack on top of each other necessarily, because I want to just be able to pull one out when I want to work with it. So I hate having to like move things to get to something else. It's the same thing in my kitchen. Like none of my pots and pans are stacked. Things in my garage are not stacked, in theory, unless my husband goes out there, and if he's watching, you know it's true. Anyway, I try to keep everything easily accessible, because otherwise I won't reach for it. It's a thing. With all of that being said, let's just dive right in. And the first deck that I have is the Soulcats, and I have this set up in a way that you can't really see the whole box, but that's okay. This is by Lisa Robertson with art by Adam Ohlers, and I mentioned in, I don't know if it was in the video or in one of the comments. I'm curious now if Adam Ohlers has more decks besides Soulcats and the Three Trees series. I have not yet looked that up, but I'd be curious, because if he does, I would be highly inclined and motivated to get them as well. But this is the Soulcats. I keep this one out. It's in this little bag, as you saw, which is super cute. It's one that I use, I won't say like daily necessarily, because it's cats and I don't really like work with cat energy, at least not right now. I don't know, it's kind of a comfort deck, not necessarily one that I go to for comfort, but I like, it feels comforting to have it by me, if that makes sense. I'm a super cat person. Like, I've always had cats. We had cats growing up. My grandma had a ton of them. My mom's pretty much always had one until I moved out. And even then she had one until that cat passed away. But throughout my marriage, we've pretty much always had a cat, other than a couple houses that didn't allow pets. But yeah, I mean, we've fostered cats. We've had dumpster kittens, and you know, we've rescued multiple cats. So I really like cats, and this deck is comforting. I like the way they're portrayed. I just really enjoy Adam Ohlers' artwork, and the guidebook is great. Should be here. Yeah, so it's just, I don't know, it's well written. It's a Llewellyn deck, so you know, it's the typical huge picture with you know, I don't know, it depends on the deck, but sometimes you just get a small write-up, sometimes you get a little more, but you've got guidance and protection. I generally like Llewellyn's books and how they're put together and how they're written. They choose authors who, at least in my experience, know what they're talking about, so great guide. And yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say. As mentioned before, I've got a couple cat oracles. I have this cat tarot. I think I showed the little square cat tarot, and I think that's it. Oh, and then the forest felines, which I did go over too. But I think I'm set on cat decks. I mean, unless something crazy happens. Like, I really didn't have an intention to buy the forest felines, but you know, sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. So that is the Soulcats tarot. Okay, next, this is the Everyday Witch tarot, another Llewellyn. I've got a huge stack of Llewellyn here, so bear with me on these big boxes. This is a favorite. Oops, look at me just ripping apart the box. This is a forever deck. I feel like I have a connection to this deck specifically because this is the deck I learned tarot on. This is the one I used with Lisa Pepez, her tarot with training wheels. Not this specific deck. I have a mini version of this deck, and that's the one I wrote the keywords on. And so this is just, this is my tarot with training wheels deck, and I love it. I like its vibe. It's super easy to read with. I don't find myself reaching for it. I edged it in this copper, which I find gorgeous. I don't find myself reaching for it a lot. I feel like I'm not sure why. I was going to say it feels young, but no, it doesn't. Not really. It's a little bit cartoon-ish, and not in a bad way. It's just not an energy that I generally gravitate towards. But it's a forever deck. I love it. And when I do reach for it, I thoroughly enjoy the readings. So, I mean, King of Swords, this, every time I see a King of Swords, this is who I see. And so I really enjoy it. Some people learn on the classic Rider-Waite, and they see those cards when they see, other decks. And those cards pop up. But yeah, these are the cards I see. I see her bright red dress every time I see the Queen of Wands, Six of Cups, this Gardener, Page of Wands, adventure is my keyword. And I don't know how many other ways I could say it without being annoying, but I just really like it. It's comforting, and I think eventually it will probably feel nostalgic. It doesn't quite feel that way yet because I've only had it for, 4 years, give or take. I love this one. The Eight of Pentacles, that's what I always see when I see the Eight of Pentacles. So yeah, this one. This is one of my favorite Four of Cups. It's just funny. Like, what is his deal? Like, she needs to just tell him to get over himself. Like, you live on the coast, guy. Like, I don't know. Get over it already. Anyway. Knight of Cups, my dreaded card, and the Two of Cups. I love this deck. It makes me happy. All right, next is the Shadowland Tarot. Monica Bodersky. This is another, I don't necessarily need to say today, in today's video, that I love all these decks because I think I already discussed. I love all of these decks. This shelf is a shelf that I use the decks in regularly, or if not regularly, at least seasonally. This is kind of my September deck. Although I will say the last couple of months, and I kind of mentioned this on an Instagram post, I think that I shared this week, if I remember correctly. I started kind of pulling away from using decks seasonally, not for any particular reason other than I really just wanted to use these decks that I have previously assigned to specific months to work with, and I feel a little bit pigeonholed by that concept. My own doing. It wasn't anything that anybody suggested. It was just kind of how I used tarot, and I think it was a way to use all of or a lot of my decks in my collection without feeling overwhelmed, because in that way, and using them seasonally or monthly, I was kind of cycling through them versus like, oh my gosh, I have to look at, these several dozen decks and pick one. Now I'm down to like 4 or 5 that I like to use in May. So that's been helpful, but as mentioned, I don't know, it's just not quite what I'm gravitating towards right now. Like I pulled out my May decks, which is typically my Tarot of Mystical Moments, and I just didn't want to use it. So I put it back in the cabinet and I'm using other decks. So, that being said, I'm not necessarily called to use this deck right now, but this one I've mentioned before feels like me. It feels like what's happening on the inside of me on a daily basis. I don't really know how else to put that. If you look at a card, you know, in this deck, that's how it feels like inside me. My head, my body, emotionally, physically, that's how I feel. And for that reason, I feel very connected to this deck. And I think I could potentially use this. I could potentially use this as a magical workings deck. I don't know if you guys have seen the video that Carrie put out this week about using tarot for your magical practice. If you haven't watched it and you're curious, I highly recommend. She does a great job at explaining it and kind of going over her practice and how she does it. And one of the things she suggested was picking a single tarot or oracle, I guess. She used tarot. And using that deck solely for magical workings. It's not something she said you had to do. It was just one of the ways that she does it. And I thought that was beautiful. And I considered maybe using this deck as that, but I don't think that would work because I like using this deck. So I don't think this, if I didn't use it regularly, I could see using it as that. This is a great guidebook. It's one of my favorite guidebooks. I think I've shown this every single time I've pulled out this. The little spider on the right side just drops down the pages, and you know, as a whole, the book is just great. Keywords, shadow, the message, reflection. So you've got like journaling prompts. And I will tell you, every time I've used this deck, the card I pull, even if it doesn't make sense, like even if I can't intuit what the message is, if I pull out the book nails it every single time. So, love this. All right, next we have the Green Witch Tarot. You know, this is one of those decks that Dawn Michelle made me do it. We'll start with that. When I received this deck, I panicked because I thought maybe it would be a copy, which this was early on in my tarot journey. And I thought it was weird that the guidebook was blue. So I thought for sure that's going to be a fake deck. Well, joke's on me because first of all, yeah, it's blue. It literally shows it on the back. And I've never once seen someone make a copy of a deck and use these big boxes. So regardless, this is a favorite. I use this one year round. I tend to go for it end of summer. I haven't assigned it to a month. I guess the way that I usually do decks that I assign to a month, I'll have one, usually just one, sometimes two decks that are assigned to a particular month. But then I'll also have multiple other decks, both tarot and oracle, that I like to use during that month. But they're not necessarily assigned to that month. So this is one of those that I just, you know, I love it for like July, August. It feels very late summer to me. This deck reminds me of my second daughter. I think probably because I did a reading for her. I've done a reading for her multiple times, but this is one that I've used more than once with her. And it just, I wouldn't say like it's her deck. Like it's not one that I associate with her necessarily, but it does remind me of her. And you know, one more reason to love it. I just love her. Are these lilacs or these hyacinths? I think they're hyacinths. Look at those leaves. Anyway, I love her. This is a great deck. It's comforting. I did not want or need this deck for a long time. And every time Dawn Michelle pulled hers out, I was like, yeah, like you love it, but it's not really for me. And then one day, for whatever reason, I was like, you know what? I think I want to try it. And immediately fell in love with it. No looking back. So another easy reader. I feel like a lot of Llewellyns, especially the ones in these big boxes, they're all easy. Obviously, that's generally speaking, of course. But yeah, I've never had a bad reading or a reading where I felt confused or conflicted. The guidebook's fantastic. It goes into, all the elements, especially when there's like a plant, which I think most of these do have a plant. Goes into that and the meaning behind it. I just really like it. It's a definite favorite. And actually, I generally tend to have this one out. But like I said, it feels a little more later in the year. Not necessarily fall. I don't quite use it into fall. Maybe September up until, but although I'll be honest, I do find myself using it sometimes in December because of that green. Just, I don't know, it makes me think of December, so. Okay, next we have the Forest of Enchantment with a sad ding. I don't know how that happened. Oh well. Linnea Weatherstone. And Marilla Allwood. Wow, that was awkward. Anyway, this is another favorite. I guess I'll just say that because here I am saying it, even though I said I didn't need to say it. This deck has my heart. And yet, I don't use it a lot, but I'm okay with that because I love it so much. I love the green tones. Look at this. It's gorgeous. There for a couple of years, I had this as my June deck, and then it moved into my March deck because of all the green, and now it's just kind of an all year round, though like I said, I don't pull it out very often. But for no particular reason, just I think I have a lot of decks, really. At the end of the day, that's all it boils down to. So I love this. This is going nowhere. This will be a forever deck, or is a forever deck. And again, because it's Llewellyn, it's a great guidebook, great for beginners if they are willing to go into the guidebook. But in my opinion, not necessarily good for beginners, only because a lot of the titles have changed, which, at least for me, that was really hard to wrap my head around before I learned tarot. So it was, you know, it's too much for me. Maybe some people are, you know, can just jump right in and know exactly what the Huntsman is, or, I mean, obviously the Wide World. Keeper of Visions, you know, I'm pretty sure this is the Queen, if I remember correctly, Queen of Cups, but I could be wrong. But generally speaking, you know, once you know tarot well enough, even if it's not necessarily the Queen of Cups, you get enough of the vibe that you can intuit the meaning behind it, and then, as necessary, go into the guidebook. Oh, I just love this one. It's funny, I've tried a couple other of Llewellyn's decks, and I don't know. It's like between the Green Witch and this one, I don't really need any others, which we'll kind of get into with the next one that I'm going to talk about. I feel like these just fill the slots so well that any others just aren't necessary. I might eat my words one day, but for now, these are my favorite Llewellyn decks. Though I do have another favorite Llewellyn deck, but that's on the next shelf, so we'll see that in the next video. But this is the other one. I could not wait for this deck to come. I was so excited. Tarot of the Witch's Garden. I was like, yes, witches and gardening, which, you know, I don't consider myself a green witch by any stretch of the imagination, but like the Witch's Garden, it just seemed so cool. And yet, this one technically could probably have been put on that first shelf because I think I've used it once or twice, and I don't care for it. Its energy feels very immature, I guess. Not childlike, but it just feels immature to me. It feels undeveloped, and I'm not sure why, because the artwork's gorgeous. You know, I love it. Not every card. Like, some of the cards are kind of awkward. Some of the figures are kind of awkward. This is nice. This one throws me because of her arm. I know other people have talked about it. This is just, I'm sorry. How did this make it past, like, editing? I don't understand. This is beautiful. I love this card. This is okay. So many of them are beautiful and, you know, workable. It's Jesus, just saying. It just feels very dramatic to me. Like, what is happening right now? Like, I don't know. I can't work with this deck. Although I love the Pentacle suit, which I think is why I've held on to it for so long, because I just adore it so much. Even, you know, she's fine. He's a little awkward. But I feel like, honestly, you know, to be fair, I feel like, in my experience, male characters can be very difficult to capture without making them seem weird or creepy if you're trying to make them seem friendly. Does that make sense? Like, obviously we were going for a friendly King of Pentacles, a jovial guy. But to me, he just looks kind of like a psychopath, if we're being honest. So, I don't know. That's beautiful. I don't care for this figure. It's awkward. I don't know. So, yeah, I'm holding on to it because this is probably one that I wouldn't mind if grandkids used. And if you watched my other 2 videos, you know I don't have grandkids, but they, you know, I have decks that I hold on to for the purpose of giving to them to play with or take or use or whatever. I mean, most of these are fine. You know, she's beautiful. Like, I want to say 90% of these are fine. Just some of them, like, this is very Hollywood, like 40s. I don't know. I love this. It's so pretty. I like her. I think I don't like the, I guess, the water suit as much in this deck as I do, you know, the other suits. Pentacles, as I said, is probably my favorite. She's okay. I don't mind her. Empress is beautiful. I do like this 3 of Cups. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. This is my favorite 7 of Cups card. Of all my decks, it's my favorite. So, I don't know. And this one's linen. I believe this was the first linen finish that Llewellyn came out with. Which is such a funny thing. Like, I don't know. It's funny when you're into something for a while and you see changes or trends or, you know, whatever that is. Next is the Lost Oracle. Oracles are so hit or miss for me. I love this deck. I love the colorway. I love that it's multiple colors. As you know, that's one of my weaknesses. I feel like there was an herbal deck. It's like I don't remember. If I remember, I will put a picture up of it because it's beautiful, but it's just, it's too much for me. This deck feels like a good stand-in, I guess, for that deck. I think it's just the colorway, really. And I'm not sure exactly what holds me back from using it because I love the keywords. I love that it has like a little message. Love the colors. I think it's just the, you know, just the flat images. I just can't, I guess I can't like get into it. I can't put myself into the card. I can't like pull meaning out of it. They just fall flat. So even though I find them beautiful and I wish I could work with them, I just haven't found that I've been able to, which is such a bummer because there's some really, you know, this one, beautiful decks that are out there that I've just not purchased because I know I can't work with it. Although this is an interesting card. I don't remember this one. I've mentioned it before. One of my grandmothers was hanged as a witch, and interesting. One of the last ones, actually. One of the last women hanged in Massachusetts. So, interesting. Okay, I'll come back to that. This is gorgeous. I love that. I like the elements. You know, there's just so much to love about this deck, which is why I haven't considered rehoming it. It's just, I don't know. And maybe it's because of this card. Sometimes, you know what? Sometimes a deck wants to be with us for a single card, and I'm pretty okay with that. I want to explore this later, so I'm going to set this aside. Okay, next we have the Uchette Design. I think that's how you pronounce it. Radiant crystal cards. Wow. This is her first edition, or their first edition. I don't know if this is like a single person business or if this is like a more of a company thing. I don't know. You get welcome, meet the cards, you get the chakras, kind of like a cheat sheet of all of the crystals in the deck. Crystal grids, which actually I might read into that. Somebody mentioned something about a crystal grid and I don't remember what it was or why I was interested, but we'll come back to that. The edges are beautiful. These are in alphabetical order. Each card has the chakra, vibration, or number vibration, astrological sign, and affirmation energies, and then the flower that goes with it. I don't use these as an oracle. I use them as a reference tool. So, you know, it's very utilitarian, I guess, would be the word. Why am I showing you all the backs? You don't want to see the backs here. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I won't flip through each of these because A, you've probably seen them. B, it is rose petal, which means it's going to take me a little longer to flip through every single one. But they're beautiful. I love having this deck. I bought this one secondhand. It was already out of print. And I know the creator, they have a second edition. I'm not sure if that's still available, but their text is different, I believe, both on the front and the back. And I believe they also added a few cards, a few crystals. I don't need that deck. I really like this one. And speaking of that, last month when I did my wrap up, I forgot, and now's a good time to sort of interject. I forgot to mention that I bought this series, the Crystal Bible 1, 2, and 3. So, which is why I won't be buying the other deck, because now I have these. These are in-depth crystal Bibles. They go into, I imagine, pretty much every one that you can think of. And I don't know crystals well enough to say, no, this crystal's missing or whatever. I bought this on eBay, used, or secondhand anyway. I think I spent maybe like $35 for all three. But it goes into the attributes and healing and position. So it's, you know, goes into depth. And I love that the pictures are so detailed and clean where you can really see, you know, you can really look at it and know for sure that that's likely, you know, the crystal that you have. Likely know for sure. You know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, these have been great. It's just, I like having this kind of thing around for reference, and is the Spread Crafters Oracle. This deck, I feel like any deck that sort of has like a specific purpose, I kind of struggle using. I've seen so many videos and so many really cool, inspiring ideas on how to, do I have these? No, I wanted to make sure I didn't have them alphabetized. So many ways to use this deck, and one of them obviously is to create spreads where you would lay this out, put your tarot or oracle over it. But it's not quite that straightforward because you have some of these cards are focus areas, some are shadow work, some are success or light work, seeker. And so you would have to keep the deck in order, essentially, in my opinion, at least in my brain. I would need to keep it in order to be able to utilize it in that way. to where I could pull out one of each or 3 of the same. I don't know. It just, like, I wouldn't necessarily want light work, boundary, and shadow work in the same one, right? Like, I don't know. I wouldn't want to do it randomly. So I do struggle with this one, but I love the concept. I think it would be one that if I didn't have it, I would miss it, because I think the concept is so good that if I wanted to explore this concept deeper, I just want to have it here. I want to have it available. And I do have the expansions. This one I believe is meant for like gaming. Quest expansion, gamify, reimagine your life. You know, when I bought this, I was playing D&D regularly with my husband and a couple friends and our daughter and her husband. So I was like, yeah, no, I definitely need this. But I don't think I've used it once. But now that I have it and I want to keep the other one, I'm keeping the set. Look at these edges. And then this one, meant for healing. Similar concept. Silver edges. Call to action, shadow work. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird little deck, very specific kind of way to use it. I don't see it talked about a lot, and maybe that's why, you know, it just feels very specific and not meant to be used, perhaps in kind of just a loosey-goosey kind of way. And most of the time, I don't have time for something that's not loosey-goosey. Love it nonetheless. Okay, next is my Prairie Majesty Oracle. I bought this at the end of summer last year after just not wanting it. Wasn't one that I was drawn to at all. For a long time, this has been out for, I don't know, a few or several years. I have no idea. But I bought this to use as an oracle when I hike with my husband. I wanted something that was inexpensive, that felt naturey. I love that it just has the giant, the giant keyword that I can just kind of throw down with whatever deck I have, get my message, and move on. Like, especially if I'm hiking with someone, generally speaking, people don't really want to like chill while you do a 25-minute tarot reading, right? So it's just something I wanted to kind of just be able to throw down, get my question that I can like potentially consider and ruminate on as we're hiking, along with the message and the picture. Because I kind of like, one of the things I did was, I would get this picture and then along the hike, I would look for the grasshopper, or I would look for the turkey vulture or whatever. Obviously, hopefully I don't see a mountain lion, but yeah, it's just, I only use it for that. I don't really ever pull it out otherwise. The artwork I'm not really drawn to, but I love that it's bright and colorful and fun to take along on our hikes. So the box is so cute. Usually I pair this with the Great Outdoors Tarot. That's the one I've been taking on my hikes. So, all right, next is brand new within the last few months, the Craft Felt Tarot. So funny. I don't know. This was not one that I felt I needed when it was on Kickstarter. But as soon as people started receiving theirs, I just was so thoroughly impressed by the level of time and precise placement that this deck has, that I just knew it's one I wanted. I wanted to have it in my collection. I can see potentially finding, a specific job for this deck eventually. And until then, I'm fine with just having it. I'm so impressed by this. It's simple, it's easy to read, it very closely follows the Rider-Waite, so you know exactly what you're looking at. I love this one. I don't know. It's cute and sweet and endearing. And I'm just going to hold this up in case you have not seen a walkthrough of this. Look at the detail in these. Like, I guess the person made all these with felt and then scanned them all in, I believe. I don't think they photographed them. But they just did such an amazing job. And I really wanted you to see the detail. Look at his little face. So yeah, I really like it. And then the book, every card is a haiku, which I saw the funniest post on this creator's Instagram. I guess people were arguing with her that some of these were not haiku, and she wrote that not every haiku is, 575 structure. And I just thought that's funny. I would be embarrassed to argue with a creator on the validity of their creation and then be told you're wrong. So, haha, I think that's funny. Okay, next is the Spacious Tarot. This is another one that I just did not need, but bought it because it was going out of print. Do I have I'd looked at this one for a long time, and I'd gone back and forth, and I was questioning. This one is, I don't know if there's still any of these left. I don't know. It was relatively inexpensive. I think they were like 48 or something like that. And for an indie deck, that's on the affordable end for an indie deck. So, do I use it? Will I use it? Not that I'm opposed to using it, but again, it's kind of that vector image, and I'm just not that into it, but I really like it. So I don't know, this one technically could probably go on the other shelf, but I think because it's so new, I sort of kept it on this side because I thought, maybe I'd pull it out, maybe I'd use it. But I have another deck that I use that has the same vibe that I like more. So I think this was purely a FOMO, but I don't really have any regrets in getting it. So yeah, I'm not sure what I'll do with this deck, but it's mine now and I will love it. Okay, last deck that I had, it's not even a deck really. It's the expansion for the Spacious Tarot. Because obviously if a deck's going out of print and you're gonna get the deck for that reason, you've got to get the expansion because why wouldn't you? I don't know. So yeah, same thing as said about the main deck. FOMO, yes. Regret, no. So that is it. That is the third shelf, and there were fewer decks on there because, as you saw, a lot of them were Llewellyn, so they take up a lot more space. So this video would be shorter, and that's all I have. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and keep an eye out for shelf 4.